Here we have the Cardinal Coupe from Fields Auto Works. 300 horsepower from a turbocharged Ford engine, under 2,000 pounds, big sticky tires, and as we found out at our official test track, the Florida International Rally and Motorsports Park, it is extremely capable on track. In fact, rivaling some of the fastest cars that we have ever tested here. We're gonna take you out on track with us, and we're gonna talk to the folks who designed and built this car from the ground up to be a world-class track machine.
Our background is really in Formula cars and sports racers, and so with that history, we really wanted to bring something that was going to be lightweight, that was intended to be out on the track, but we wanted to soften it up a little bit, make it more approachable, make it a little more forgiving to drive, but keep the fun factor, keep the lightweight. At the same time, we wanted to bring as much production hardware, as much ease of use and maintenance as we possibly could.
So a lot of the parts on here are essentially off-the-shelf pieces, either from major OEM manufacturers or from mass-produced short track and oval track type equipment, right?
Absolutely. So our real philosophy on this was, unless you have a collision with the car, you shouldn't have to call us for parts. You can service everything out of a local auto parts store or out of an OE dealer. We're using the EcoBoost 2.3 liter from Ford. It's basically as it's found in the Mustang. We get it as a crate motor with their controls package. From the flywheel back is all either the GT350 or aftermarket equivalent parts. So there's nothing you're going to do to the EcoBoost that's going to hurt all that hardware, even on track. And then all of it can be serviced with the same basic parts and tools that are needed for the road car. The chassis itself is very lightweight, very stiff. It's very rewarding to drive. The suspension itself is a AA arm pull rod style of suspension. It's very similar to what you'd find in some of the entry-level Formula cars, some of the sports racers, and it really gives the car a very progressive and forgiving feel, but a tremendous amount of fun to dance at the limit.
So who is your intended customer for this, and how did your concept of an intended customer, who's actually been buying the cars? I know you've got several dozen cars out there already. How did your original concept meet with the needs of who you found your actual customer base to be?
Absolutely. So we started out thinking really of anybody from kind of a fairly new to track days, really into just the sports cars, all the way up to someone who's an experienced racer looking for a more rewarding platform or an easier platform to live with. And what we've found so far, the vast majority of our customers are people who they have at least some track experience. We have some customers who actually run track events. They're organizers and spend all their weekends at the track. But the common theme is really our customer base are people who they enjoy using the car as intended. They want to come out and explore the limits of what they can do with the car and do it in a safe and fun and predictable way.
Friendly is the word that I use a lot, and it really has come through that that's the way the car drives. It doesn't have vices, it doesn't try to kill you or bite you. The Cardinal's one of the easiest cars to get in and go fast I've ever driven. And it makes it so much fun because you're not having to try to drive around the vices and I gotchas and I don't really like that. But this car, I haven't yet found anything that didn't put a smile on my face.
Well, and also kind of shocking. I mean, you look at Steve, you look at me. We're both very differently shaped people, but both sort of unusual in our own specific ways. We both fit in this car fantastically, and to me, that's half the battle of going fast, is having room to work and having room to get in the position that you want to be in to go fast.
Yeah, that was something that the design, part of the design criteria. In fact, that we started with a list of features that made up the experience that we wanted the customer to have with the car. And it had to be fun. And I physically can't drive some of the little sports cars. I just don't fit. And even if I did, I don't have room to work.
Yeah.
So we started with the overall experience that the customer would have in the car, and it starts with getting in it. Can I fit it? And is it comfortable? And that's the starting point for being able to drive a car anywhere near its limits consistently, is being comfortable in the car. And the next is the driving dynamics that are built around that.
It's hard to not have fun in. It's so, the word I keep coming back to is vivid. It's like going into Photoshop and just turning the sharpness up on everything, and it's very present. It's very right there, while also being very easy to drive. And that's it's easy to make a car fast. It's difficult to make a car friendly, and that's what you guys have done with this, I think.
Well, thank you, and I think that shows the capability of the team involved. As you know, in most anything you do in life, it's the people that make the difference, and Bob and Rob Fields have put together an amazing team, and that's part of what got me involved, was seeing who was on the team and the capabilities there, and that became very much the motivating factor for me.
I've been on track with the Fields Cardinal. I know that the lap times are telling me it is one of the fastest cars we've ever tested here, but the data is going to tell the real story. Let's take a look at that now. So let's take a look at some of the data the Fields Cardinal produced at the track, and we're going to compare it actually to the fastest car we have ever tested, the fastest production car we have ever tested at the firm, and that is the C8 Corvette Z51. Now, first thing I see when I just look at the overall look of the curve is actually exactly kind of what I expected. Is I see the Corvette beating the Fields Cardinal down the straightaway. Makes perfect sense because the Corvette's got 500 plus horsepower versus about 300 for the Fields Cardinal, even though the weight of the Cardinal is a lot less. But I also see the Fields Cardinal absolutely whooping the Corvette through the corners, just using that lightweight. That is where it's using it to its advantage. It's lightweight and those giant sticky Hoosier tires, 295 millimeters wide at all four corners of that tiny little Fields Cardinal, using it to just put a massive gap on that Corvette through the corners that the Corvette is then getting back in the straightaway. So let's look in particular at a few corners here. We see our first acceleration zone right here. The Cardinal goes through this right-left combination faster than the Corvette. You see the Cardinal in the blue trace and the Corvette in the red trace, and we see the Corvette though immediately using that torque and horsepower to its advantage, getting down to the next corner. And look at the advantage here, going through the firm's very square turn 5 and turn 6. We see a good a 6, 7, maybe even an 8 mile an hour advantage for the Cardinal through these square corners where you're just braking, getting the car set on an arc, and then unwinding all the way through the corner. Great acceleration. Out of that corner, you can use all the horsepower of the Fields Cardinal, but still, the Corvette has more. So once it gets hooked up and once it gets straightened out, it is disappearing down that next straightaway. Braking for both cars looks pretty good. One spot where we used a little bit more braking in the Vette than we did in the Cardinal was going into turn 8. Now turn 8 has a very dicey entrance. It's one of the sort of corners on the firm that has to be approached a little bit gingerly, especially in somebody else's purpose-built car that only a few of exist in the world, and they're trying to use that as a tool to keep their business afloat. So we maybe weren't as aggressive approaching that corner in an unfamiliar car as we were in other cars. But in general, we're seeing that the braking on both these cars is fantastic. Again, a tribute to grippy tires on both cars and good brake feedback from the Fields Cardinal, even though it's a non-ABS traditional system all the way around. Overall, it is just phenomenally capable and extremely benign. This is something that you could put a novice in, somebody maybe going to their first or second track day, and it might intimidate them at first just because it is so rudimentary and it's so capable, but it's never going to scare them with any of its habits, because its habits are all very, very good. It does exactly what you feel like a car should do if you've read all the books about what causes understeer, what causes oversteer, what causes a car to behave a certain way under braking or acceleration. It obeys all of those common sense laws of physics and doesn't do anything weird. Folks, if you like our track test, if you like all of the content we're putting out here on YouTube, you can do me a couple favors. First thing you can do is go down here, hit that like button, and hit that subscribe button. You will get the first crack at all of the content we post here on YouTube, and you can visit us on the web at grassrootsmotorsports.com. We will see you next time at the track.
Support brands who support Grassroots Motorsports. Get your chemical solutions from CRC Industries. To learn more, visit crcindustries.com.